Good afternoon, everyone. Very warm welcome on today's webinar on ethical standards, navigating contemporary challenges, and converging with the ethical best practices. On behalf of Ethical Standard Board, I would like to welcome the event enabler, the Chairman Bareilly Branch, Vice Chairman Bareilly Branch, and other managing committee members of the Bareilly Branch, and today's speaker, CA Kuldeep Kothari, sir. I would request C. Ravi Johri, Chairman Bareilly Branch, to proceed further for this webinar.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, thank you to Ethical Standard Board to allow Bareilly Branch to host this event, to allow us to make the event enabler. In the meantime, our chairman, C. Anuj Goyal, has joined us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Ravi ji.
Thank you, Kuldeep sir. Thank you, Kuldeep ji. Thank you for sparing your valuable time in this peak crucial moment. तो आज का हमारा जो सेमिनार है एथिकल स्टैंडर्ड्स नेविगेटिंग कंटेम्पररी चैलेंजेस एंड कन्वर्जिंग विद एथिकल बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस, जो एक्चुअल में इस समय नीड ऑफ द मोमेंट है कि हम लोगों की पॉलिसीज क्या होनी चाहिए, हमारे एथिकल प्रैक्टिसेस क्या होनी चाहिए, जो आज की डेट में बहुत जरूरी है। क्योंकि आज की डेट में चाहे डिपार्टमेंट्स हो, चाहे क्लाइंट्स हो, चाहे अलग अथॉरिटीज हो, सब सीएस को एक सॉफ्ट टारगेट मानते हैं। और वहां पर हमें जरूरत है कि हमें अपने इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करके अपने जो बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं उनको फॉलो करने के लिए। तो सबसे पहले तो मैं एथिकल स्टैंडर्ड बोर्ड का थैंक यू बोलना चाहूंगा कि जिन्होंने इतना अच्छा सेमिनार होस्ट करने के लिए हम लोगों को अलाउ किया और तैयारी की इसके लिए। सेकेंडली, जो हमारे आज के अनुज गोयल जी चेयरमैन सर हैं एथिकल स्टैंडर्ड बोर्ड के, सीए मंगेश पांडुरंग किनारे जी जो हैं वाइस चेयरमैन सर, उनको भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और हमारे आज के स्पीकर सीए कुलदीप कोठारी जी, जिन्होंने अपना क्रूशियल समय निकाला इस सेमिनार के लिए, आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। तो विदाउट एनी डिले मैं एक बार एक छोटा सा ब्रीफ इंट्रो हमारे आज के स्पीकर सीए कुलदीप कोठारी जी का देना चाहूंगा, जो थोड़ा सा आप लोगों को उनके सामने प्रेजेंट करना चाहूंगा कि वो क्या है, वो अपने आप में कितने गहरे हैं, मैं उनके लिए कुछ बोलना चाहूंगा। तो कुलदीप जी जो हैं वो 13 ईयर्स से एक्सपीरियंस है, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैं, कई सारे मल्टीपल कोर्सेज उन्होंने किए हुए हैं। चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट के साथ साथ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी, एलएलबी, डीसा, सर्टिफाइड फॉरेंसिक ऑडिटर, पीयर रिव्यूअर, फाइनेंशियल मार्केट और सिक्योरिटी लॉस का भी काफी सर ने नॉलेज है सर के पास, सर काफी एक्सपर्टीज है उसमें भी। सोशल ऑडिटर भी हैं सर इस समय एनआईएसएम के थ्रू। और इसके अलावा कई सारे पैनल हैं सर, और बहुत तरीके से इंस्टीट्यूट की और मेंबर्स के लिए हमेशा तत्पर रहते हैं। साथ ही साथ मैं पढ़ पा रहा हूँ, मैं देख पा रहा हूँ कि सर अभी जो हमारे हैं प्रिंसिपल रिसर्चर रह चुके हैं एप्लीकेशन ऑफ रिवाइज्ड फॉर्मेट ऑन फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स पे। तो कुलदीप जी, आपकी उपलब्धियों के बारे में जितना गिनाया जाए उतना कम है, क्योंकि गागर में सागर हैं आप।
अरे नहीं,
तो
अनुज सर से सीख रहे हैं सब लोग।
सर अनुज सर तो वैसे भी प्रेरणा स्रोत है हम सबके, और मुझे लगता है कि लोगों को मुझसे ज्यादा सुनने में आपको इंटरेस्ट होगा, तो मैं आपका बिल्कुल भी कीमती समय नहीं लूंगा। और इसके बाद में पहले एक बार अपने वाइस चेयरमैन और कम सिकासा चेयरमैन सीए नवीन अग्रवाल जी से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि एक बार हम फॉर्मली सर को हैंड ओवर करें डाइस। उससे पहले मैं चाहूंगा कि एक बार हमारे वाइस चेयरमैन सर का एक बार इंट्रोडक्शन आप कर दें तो बहुत बढ़िया रहेगा। सीए नवीन अग्रवाल जी।
Very good afternoon to all the participants and very esteemed ethical standard boards. And we are very thankful on the behalf of Bareilly branch to Ethical Standard Board who have given us the opportunity to host this webinar. And as rightly said, our leadership and our council members are very inspirational personalities, and they have C. Anuj Goyal sir have also joined us. So I welcome him. So, वैसे तो sir, we are very we are nobody to introduce our vice chairman sir, but still I will try to tell few words about our vice chairman CA Mangesh P. Kinare ji, who is the vice chairman of Ethical Standard Boards and chairman of Professional Development Committee of ICI. So CA Mangesh Kinare ji is a DISA qualified chartered accountant. He is having experience of more than 30 years in the field of audit and GST, and he is currently the vice chairman of Ethical Standard Board and the chairman of Professional Development Committee. He has also been the part of disciplinary committee, and earlier also he was the central council member. So from the past 2 tenure, he was the central council member, and he was also during that tenure he was member of uh, examination committee and was the vice chairman of board of study. So, and we have listened to him on the various topics in newspaper as well as presence on the electronic media. So we are very thankful and we are very hopeful that we will gain something from today's webinar. So I will also take a pause to introduce our guest. I hope he has joined. Some guest is joining from Udaipur. So I hand over to ESP Secretary to introduce him also.
Thank you, sir, for giving a brief introduction. We would like to welcome C. Vinod Kumar Bansal, our special guest from Udaipur of today's webinar. I'm just giving a brief introduction about the sir. He is a registered advocate in 1973-74. He's a CA and having experienced more than 45 years in audit and government, PSUs, banks, exposure to taxation, law, insurance, etc. He is director in a public limited company in the field of mining for more than 15 plus years. He is nominated as a reviewer to evaluate various listed and unlisted companies by ICAI Research Committee for Awards for Excellence in Financial Reporting. He is also a peer reviewer of ICAI Peer Review Board. Now, I would request C. Vinod Bansal to please give a brief introduction about the today's program and give her special remarks. Thank you, sir.
I'm V.K. Bansal from Udaipur, and for this professional ethics is the cornerstone for chartered accountants. It is the responsibility of a chartered accountant to act in public interest. Every member of ICI has a responsibility of coming true to the expectation of the government, other stakeholders, as well as the general public. Every member of ICI will not only have the obligation to maintain exiting standards of clarity, transparency, and disclosure, and present an independent, informed, and balanced opinion about ICI. Will make examples of delinquent members to ensure the core value is embedded in the members. The Code of Ethics issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India prescribes the norms of right conduct for the members of the institute. It lays down principles and rules which guide the members in situation of ethical dilemmas. The Code of Ethics has been revised recently and has been segregated into 3 volumes for first time. The Ethical Standard Board is always encouraged to keep members abreast of the latest ethical developments. And I wish the Ethical Standard Board to have every stone unturned during their tenure. Thank you.
And thank you so much, sir, for a special remark. Now I would request C. Pratik Agrawal, Treasurer, Bareilly Branch, to give a brief introduction about our Chairman, Ethical Standard Board, C. Dr. Anuj Goyal, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have been bestowed with the responsibility and the honor of introducing our very beloved Central Council member, C. Anuj Goyal ji. It will be like lighting a lamp to the sun, but I'll still give it a try. So CA Dr. Anuj Goyal ji is a practicing chartered accountant, and he is currently the Central Council member of ICI. He is one of the youngest Central Council members from the Central region. He has also served as a chairman of the Ghaziabad chapters of Institute of Company Secretaries of India and the chapter of Institute of Cost Accountants of India. During his tenure of the past 17 years as Central Council and 3 years in the regional councils and 6 years in the branch, CA Anuj Goyal ji has made significant contributions in the profession and the overall contributions of ICI to our profession. He is currently the chairman of the Ethical Standards Board and also the chairman of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee. Simultaneously, he is the convener of the Publication and Central Distribution System Directorate. He is a goal-oriented man having vast experience of over 30 years and a reservoir of knowledge that is supported by various professional degrees, limited but not limited to CA, CS, CWA, LLB, MCOM, PhD, DISA, and DIRM. He is a self-motivated, enthusiastic, and hardworking person who has proved to be a great source of motivation, specifically for the youth. And he's also known for his trademark, Zindabad.
Thank you so much, sir, for the introduction. Now I will request Chairman Ethical Standard Board to sir for our opening remarks and special address for today's webinar, sir.
Thank you very much, Rasmiji, and thank you very much, Prateek sir. I'm really very happy that we are having this very, very important webinar today of the Ethical Standard Board, and we are having the best of the resource person, CA Kuldeep Kothari sir, and of course we are having our honorable special guest, CA VK Bansalji, Vinod Kumar Bansalji from Udaipur, very, very senior chartered accountant, must be touching the age of 80 years, and is a very, very senior chartered accountant. And we are having very, very prominent leaders of the profession from Bareilly, from Rohilkhand, our honorable chairman, who is the Johari of identifying the best of the resources, C. Ravi
Thank you so much, sir.
Gauri sir, our honorable chairman of Bareilly branch. We are having our vice chairman of Bareilly branch, a very, very prominent leader from Bareilly, and Sikasa chairman, C. Naveen Agrawal sir. And then we are having, of course, C. A. Prateek Agrawal ji, our honorable Dhan Kuber, and very, very prominent leader of Bareilly branch. So on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I welcome all of you. And of course, some of the participants I think have joined through this link also, Darsa ji and Megha ji, and otherwise we are having around 2,000 participants from each and every part of the country, outside country, who are live with us. So on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, on behalf of the Ethical Standard Boards, I welcome all our honorable delegates who are present with us from each and every part of the world. And we are having, of course, the presence of our honorable secretary of the Ethical Standard Board, Ashish Suru Bhatnagar and of course, Rasmi Jasoria ji, our honorable senior officer of the
I think sir got disconnected.
and of course, Rasmi Jasoria ji, who is the very, very senior official of the ICI in Ethical Standard Board, and of course, Kuldeep Kothari ji, who is really contributing in a great way for the cause of the profession, for the cause of the, I will say, for the members through various committees, including Ethical Standard Board. We are having Yogesh Agrawal ji also live with us. Of course, this topic is so important: navigating contemporary challenges and converging with ethical best practices. So we are having the best of the resource person, and with each passing event, we are feeling more connected, compliant, and strengthened in reaffirming ethics on integral and foremost part of our profession. And today, friends, we have gathered to explore the critical aspects of our professional lives as chartered accountants with the evolving landscape of professional opportunities. And today's webinar, today's program focuses on recognizing the need of contemporary challenges and facing these challenges while remaining ethically compliant, such as protecting of data while upgrading technologically. With the coming wave of AI and blockchain technology, ethics should not lose its place. I think it's very, very important to see that when there is a change in the technology, we have to ensure that ethically, whatever we are doing, it is in the right direction as per the Code of Ethics of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Friends, a professional should not compromise, of course, on integrity and objectivity, independence, excellence, integrity. This is our three words. Everywhere when we do talk of the ICI and the chartered accountants, excellence, independence, and integrity. So when we do talk of the independence, when we do talk of the integrity, of course, the expectations of the Ethical Standard Board, expectations of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India from the chartered accountants come into force. And friends, if there is over reliance on technology, there remains a risk of overlooking the important qualitative factors. But a professional must remain ethical while making judgment confidentially, as mentioned in the fundamental principle, as well as a part of law under the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Requires an accountant to respect the confidentiality of information acquired because of professional and employment relationships. So it is very, very important to see that how we can have the confidentiality in place, and principles of professional competence and due care requires a professional to attain and maintain professional knowledge and skill at the level required to ensure that a client or employing organization receive competent professional services based on current technical and professional standards and relevant legislation, and act diligently and in accordance with the applicable technical and professional standards. Friends, we must be very well aware that one of the popular practice areas of chartered accountants in taxation is taxation services. Ethics is of utmost importance while tax planning, so as to maintain the essence and not resulting in tax evasion. So we have to see that that difference between tax avoidance and tax planning should be taken care of by the chartered accountants. We should be a professional who is there to see that how we can help out the trade and industry also, how we can help out the clients also, and of course we can help out in turn to the government also. So we are not supposed to be the part of the tax evasion, and tax planning should not result tax evasion or tax avoidance. Degree of subjectivity should be involved in determining the appropriate treatment for the tax advice in the financial statements. And another important aspect is sustainability. Chartered accountants own a unique skill set that positions them effectively to influence and implement sustainability practices within organizations. And sustainability assurance has been an important part in compliance responsibility. Given the link between climate change and corporate performance, entities are reporting their sustainability performance for internal management purposes and are making external disclosures to various stakeholders. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has always encouraged its members to adopt international best practices such as sustainability accounting standards, boards of ICI itself, and global reporting initiatives frameworks. I am the vice chairman of the Sustainability Reporting Standard Board also. So we are trying our level best to see that how the chartered accountants can be the part of these initiatives in the best possible manner. We are having CA Kuldeep Kothari, one of the most prominent resource person, and I think he is well versed with the contemporary challenges and will give his valuable insights into it and suggestions on how to cope with these challenges. And I'm quite confident that all of us will certainly see that how we can really do something very, very concrete for our mother nature also. And we are very well aware, friends, that the CA Connect portal, which is a very, very ambitious project, and Ashish Suru Bhatnagarji and his team is trying his level best, but there are great expectations from him and his entire team. I don't know how he will fulfill that expectations of the leadership in the best possible manner. But I'm quite confident that he will certainly come up to the expectations of the leadership at the earliest. We launched in February 21. It was optimized on 31st July 2021, but lot has to be done. 3 years have passed, and I'm quite confident that each and every practicing chartered accountant, without fail, should be on CA Connect platform portal at the earliest. That is the responsibility of the Ashish Subru Bhatnagarji and his entire team. And that CA Connect portal should be an initiative which is a far better initiative than UDIN, which is with the platform which is helping not helping our members who are in practice, as well as our service receivers and the regulators. So I'm quite confident that without further delay, we will ensure that how we can really do something very concrete through this CA Connect portal. We are very well aware that caconnect.ica.org, we can very well go on our platform and can get ourselves registered. We can put our profile also. Only practicing chartered accountants are allowed to do so, and we are already having the registration of more than 15,000. How many firms are registered, Ashish sir?
About 12,000, sir.
12,000 firms are already registered, and we are trying that from our end itself. I will request Bareilly branch also to popularize it. I will ensure that we do communicate in the best possible manner to each and every branch, to each and every regional council, through our journal, through electronic mail, through our Twitter, through our Instagram, through our Facebook, so that each and everyone can be connected at the earliest. And through SSP portal, we will ensure that left out chartered accountants who are in practice should be registered from our own end at the earliest without any further delay. And through this CA Connect platform itself, whatever tenders or other things which are coming to the chartered accountants, or the banks are going for the employment of the chartered accountants, it should be done through the CA Connect itself. And if a service receiver of the New Zealand wants a chartered accountant in Delhi, so it should be done only through CA Connect portal. And I'm quite confident that we will certainly have the initiative of the Secretariat in the best possible manner at the earliest. And this CA Connect portal will be a bridge between the chartered accountants who are the service providers and the service receivers, the trade and industry, the government, the foreign entities. And if they want a chartered accountant, even at a Mufassal area in India, they will be in a position to find out a chartered accountant through CA Connect portal. They want a chartered accountant in New Zealand or Australia who is in consultancy, they should find the chartered accountants in New Zealand or Australia. If they want a chartered accountants in Bareilly or Muradabad or Rampur or Kashipur or Haldwani or Pilibhit or Rudrapur, through this CA Connect portal, they should be in a position to find out the chartered accountant. If they want a chartered accountant who is in GST practice, who is having the expertise in GST, Yogesh Agrawalji can be on mute. Yogesh, you can be on mute, please. Office, you are supposed to take care of all those things now. And please try to see that in each and every nook and corner of the country, we will be having the brigade of the experts in each and every area. And whosoever wants the expert services of the chartered accountants in a particular area, in a particular sector, in a particular regime, through CA Connect portal, they can be connected. So I will not be taking a further time. I am really very happy that all of you are here. We are going to celebrate International Ethics Day on 16th of October, Ashish ji.
Hello. Yes, sir, on 16th October.
Yeah. So on 16th of October, we are going to have at Lee Meridian, we are having that international
Shangri-La.
at Hotel Shangri-La from morning till evening. The details will be publicized at the earliest. Rasmiji, please ensure that it should reach to each and every chartered accountant in each and every part of the world, time and again, each and every way, so that each and everyone can be there physically as well as virtually. So I once again welcome all our honorable leaders of the profession, Kuldeep Kothari ji, our honorable resource person, our honorable chairman, who is a great Johari, Ravi Jwari ji. I welcome Vinod Kumar Bansal ji, very, very senior and prominent chartered accountant, our special guest. Today, we are having C. Naveen Agarwal ji, our Honorable Vice Chairman, and going to be in the Regional Council also very soon, I have been told by Pratik Agarwal ji, and all our respected seniors present here, because all others are there through a different mode, but we are having the presence of Yogesh Agarwal ji, Sumit Mohan ji, Darsha Sharma ji, Sally Agarwal ji, and Megha Kansal ji, Anmol Goyal ji. So I was and Mansi Agarwal ji. I once again welcome all of you, and a special thanks to Ashish Bhandagar ji and Rasmi Jasodia ji for being very, very active. I once again welcome all our honorable delegates who are in thousands from each and every part of the country and outside country. On behalf of the ICI and Ethical Standard Board, I once again welcome all of you. So I will request C.A. Kuldeep Kothari ji, our honorable resource person, our honorable guest speaker, for his deliberation. Once again, a very, very big round of applause to C. Kuldeep Kothari.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening words. I welcome all of you on behalf of Ethical Standard Board, our own chairman and the leaders for Bareilly branch, and Vinod Bansal sir, who is a pioneer in our profession. सर अभी जौहरी सर इंट्रोडक्शन दे रहे थे तो उन्होंने बोला गागर में सागर है, तो मैंने ये कहा था कि अनुज सर से सीख रहे हैं. So it's not that I'm pricing it on a webinar, but truly saying that whatever I have learned in my professional career, the resilience that you have, the knowledge that you have, and tirelessly, मतलब at our tender age of 32, 33, हम थक जाते हैं, but sir का I have always seen that he is working 24/7 for the cause of profession. The kind of knowledge he have, and in all committees, wherever sir goes, I think you will see a difference in the terms of execution, in the terms of the kind of efforts and the results that the committee or the institute is able to bring out in terms of the benefit of members. So again, thank you, sir, for providing me this opportunity, because whenever we go to any webinar or session, it becomes a matter of honor, but today it is a responsibility also, because ethical standards is a very important and very prevalent topic in the current scenario, when our chartered accountants are being, taken to the pillar and post for each and everything. They are being, made soft targets also. So it is your guidance under which we have devised this webinar. So this webinar, I also extend my thanks to the Vice Chairman in absentia, Mangesh Kinare sir, and the special thanks to Secretary Bhatnagar sir and Rashmi ji. So sir, with your permission, may I start with the technical session? Thank you. And one more thing, that wonderful initiative about CA Connect portal, which sir has just spoken, it is going to be a game changer. Mind my words, it is going to be a game changer, and sir is working tirelessly to make it happen. And we'll certainly see the difference, as we have seen in the case of UDIN. CA Connect portal will be a game changer for members in practice and for cause of profession. So with your permission, sir, I start the technical session. Thank you. I am sharing my screen. So today's topic, ethical standards, navigating contemporary challenges, converging with ethical best practices. So this topic has been, devised in such a way, keeping in mind the evolving needs of profession. So as Anush sir has said in his opening remarks, that today is a changing era, a sustainable development era, in which every company is making n number of non-financial disclosure to internal as well as external regulators. With cybersecurity threats and introduction of digital world for industry as well as profession, the requirements or the expectations from a chartered accountant or a professional accountant, as we term them in the ethical standards or code of ethics, has changed a lot. So today's session will be divided into two parts. In first part, we'll be discussing in brief about the code of ethics, what code of ethics, the fundamental principle, the threats as well as the safeguards, and some brief knowledge about schedules of CA, the two schedules of CA. Then we'll discuss about NOCLAR And in the second part, we'll be discussing the practical challenges or the contemporary challenges, or you see the pressure of regulators that is coming out on us, whether we are in practice or whether we are in service. I see that equally both of us, whether you are in practice or you are in service, we are responsible. We are responsible for our conduct, and we are made responsible, and the expectations have changed. Not only from the client side, but from the regulator side, it has changed. So we will discuss code of ethics, or as I term it as a moral ethics, and then the second part we'll discuss intellectual ethics, because what I believe is that whatever consequences that we face may be due to omission, may be due to any sort of error, maybe due to lack of awareness about a particular code of ethics or particular provision, or technical standards or technical knowledge of standards on auditing or standards on accounting or Indian accounting standards. It has to pass the filter of intellectual ethics. So, meaning by which, so it is the time of self-review. It is the time of self. It is the time of self-review and self-assessment, that the upskillment or the level of knowledge upgradation that we need in terms of evolving new reporting requirements that has come into place. It has become very significant now, because see, if you talk about disciplinary mechanism, if we go to disciplinary committee or ESB or NFRA, as it is in practice in current time, every sort of complaint, every sort of issue, every sort of problem that we are facing as a professional accountant or as a member in industry or a member in practice will have to pass the filter of intellectual ethics. And if we can upskill ourselves, or if we can make it so strong that nothing goes beyond that, and we'll be having no problems in our professional as well as personal life. So coming back to the topic, so we will try to devise it into two parts. One is code of ethics, that is moral ethics. I term them as moral ethics, and the other is intellectual ethics. Intellectual ethics means the knowledge that is required, the technical skill set that is required for me to act in a fiduciary position of a auditor, or in a position of a KMP, or at a management level position, if I'm into service, and if I'm into practice, if I'm acting in a fiduciary position of a auditor, or in any other position, I'm advising my clients, I need to have the competency, that is professional competency, that is the one of the 5 fundamental principles that has been prescribed in our code of ethics, volume 1. As well as I need to have knowledge of the new laws, the new reporting requirements which are coming, because as a auditor also we are signing audit reports, we are giving advices, we are providing opinions to the clients, and we are certifying certain things. But the reporting requirements of the reporting framework have changed a lot from what it has to be, it used to do in the past. One such example, as sir was mentioning about cyber security issues, one such query we was put in front of us when we were discussing, it was related to SDD, that is structured digital database. It is applicable in case of listed entities only. Just to apprise you of the fact that the question which came in front of us, that whether a auditor is required to maintain structured digital database. And friends, here the problem comes into play, because maintaining structured digital database in itself, it is a very Herculean or tedious task, and it is not about having a system in place. It is about maintaining and feeding each and every information which is required to be uploaded in the SDD, which is required to be reported indeed to the regulator. So the question came in front of us was that whether as an auditor I am required to maintain SDD in my office for the listed client. So if you read the SEBI regulations, so SEBI requirements, the answer will be yes. If you read them in letter and spirit, because there has been a lot of changes in past 2 years in SEBI LODR requirements only. This is pertaining to listed entities only, audit of listed entities. So the regulation says that any person, anybody, any organization which is acting in a fiduciary position be it a auditor, be it a merchant banker, be it some other organization, is required to falls under the ambit of the organizations which are required to maintain a structured digital database. But our opinion was different, and we have written to regulator also for a clarification that if, as a auditor, I am acting in a fiduciary position, and I am having the confidential data of the company also in form of financials, because every quarter limited review is being done, and then I sign or I sign the audit report also at the end of the year. But our view was different because the STD is required to be maintained with the company only in case if I am sharing the data, the confidential data as a auditor without without the knowledge of the entity to somebody else, or if I am sharing the data to any external person if it is not in the knowledge of company. Why I am saying so? Because if the company shares the data with me, that is the financial results every quarter and the end of year annual results, they will put this information in its SGD, and they will mark that the results have been shared, or this information have been passed, which is in price sensitive information, which can be a UPSI, which is a UPSI to the auditing firm, say Agarwal and Associates, for example, or Goyal and Associates. And in that case, that particular information or data point has been marked and has been saved in the SGD. Now, if I am sharing it within my team, there is no requirement of updating it in the SGD. If I am sharing it with the information or with the instruction of the company to any external person for any external expert for DA comments, then also I am not required to feed it uh, uh, feed it in SGD at my office, that is the auditor's office. Because why I am discussing this, it is a very new topic, and it may have a very huge impact on the members in practice, because a lot of us from our fraternity are auditing listed entities, and this will have a lot of impact, and it may make me fall under the no clerk clause, which is applicable for the members in industry as well as members in practice, which is non-compliance of common laws and regulations. So this is ABLODR regulation, and as a auditor, uh, I am presumed to be having technical knowledge of whatever function I am executing on behalf of client or for client. So if I am sharing it within the knowledge of the entity, within the knowledge of the client auditee, then it is not required to be entered into the SGD at my place or at my premises, because it is being recorded. The utmost responsibility remains to be with the auditee or with the listed entity. But if I'm sharing the non-financial, sharing the price sensitive or unpublished price sensitive information without the knowledge of the entity to any external expert or to any external party, then in that case the liability may come. We may fall under the ambit of the regulation, and we may be required to have SGD at place at our own office, and need to maintain it with each and every data point which is required to be maintained as per the regulation. So with the changing times, the need of the profession has changed. So we'll not take much time on the traditional part, which is code of ethics, because it has been widely spoken about. There are a lot of better speakers or better experts than me, our chairman sir, our vice chairman sir, and the secretary itself. They are equipped with the knowledge and the past sessions that the committee, the board has organized. But I would like to keep my focus, or keep you draw your attention to these contemporary or these new challenges that are coming in front of us. We may be of an opinion that it is not applicable, because frankly telling, before this question came up in front of us, I was also not so spectacle about this. I was not worried about this, that whether STD is required to be maintained, because we had an a common mindset that it is not applicable on a practicing entity. But when we checked, we saw that there is a case in which we may fall under the ambit of STD, and we may be required, because in this case, if I fail to comply with this requirement, and if I am required to maintain, so in that case I will be violating the SEBI LODR regulation, and then I will be violating the code of ethics by violating the fundamental principle of professional competency also, because I am presumed to have the technical knowledge of whatever functions I am executing, be it in the capacity of an auditor of a listed or a non-listed entity or a society or otherwise, or as an advisor or as an senior management personnel or as an KMP in any entity. So presently, NOCLAR in terms of members in service is applicable to the listed entity. Also, we'll discuss the same in this latter part of our presentation. So, without taking much time, let me take you through to briefly about the quality review and disciplinary mechanism. Since as our institute is functioning in such a way that it is self-regulating, it is regulating its member, it is spreading awareness for the benefit of members. So there are 3-4 boards which are there in within the ICA's mechanism. One is quality review board, functions of which to a larger extent have been merged with NFRA after introduction of NFRA. So presently QRB is functioning, but the function is limited to outside the matters which are not being regulated by NFRA. Then FRRB, that is Financial Reporting Review Board, it is also one of the prominent boards which overlooks the quality of reporting function or reporting function from company's perspective also, and whether there is any misstatement or whether there is any non-compliance of any accounting standard, Indian accounting standards or companies, etc. in the financial statement. FRRB is there. Then TAQRB, that is Taxation Quality Review Board, which is there to monitor the quality of the tax audits that we all are doing or we all are executing. Why I feel that this is very important, the TAQRB, because of the reason that an tax audit is an absolute assurance in my understanding. So in audit you can you give an opinion, you express an audit opinion which is true and fair or which is accurate. You have a leverage also, but in case of tax audit, it is an absolute assurance, as in the same footings we used to do for GST audit also. So it is a certificate kind of thing which requires a true and correct certification. There are very many gray areas such as ICDS, disclosure of ICDS, which often I see that people are not doing it in a right way. The newly updated clause, the newly updated clause 44, which talks about disclosure pertaining to GST, etc. And July, August, and September is predominantly treated as a period in which we provide taxation related service, which is also a change which has come in volume 1 of Code of Ethics, which is made applicable, which was deferred earlier, which was made applicable from 1st of October 2022. So I think the role of TAQRB becomes very important. Then comes our own ethical standard boards, which is working tirelessly under the leadership of Anuj Goyal sir, and previously under leadership of Mangesh sir, and the secretariat is working day and night to work in the favor of for the cause of profession to maintain high ethical standard values. And with this webinar, we are starting a new initiative to focus on the 5 core fundamental principles, and out of those 5 fundamental principles, we'll focus on professional competency and knowledge and intellectual ethics. So I'm giving a new word today, we'll try to give it a new shape, so that along with the technical or theoretical knowledge of code of ethics as well as the CA Act, we should have the technical knowledge of all laws and regulations applicable on us, because since the time is changing, the global business scenario is changing, the reporting requirement is also changing. So with this today's webinar, Ethical Standard Board has taken a new step in upskilling or upliftment of knowledge of members in terms of evolving reporting frameworks, as well as what are the non-compliances from other regulators' perspective also. Then comes the disciplinary committee. These are the five, boards or committees which are there within the mechanism of ICA. This disciplinary committee is the committee which is established under the section 21B of our CA Act, which primarily which governs or which lays down or which passes its judgment based on the kind of offense a member has committed, whether it is in he or she is in practice or in service. There are two schedules in which our C Act has been defined. The schedule one, the offenses are of less gravity. An offense is an offense. I'm not advocating any offense to be committed, but just to give in broader picture how the mechanism or disciplinary mechanism is working, has become so robust that it is picking up the cases at a pace, and in all sectors, DC is also trying to regulate. If it is a genuine case, members are being held non guilty. Also, they are being reprimanded. But if it is a case where intent in terms of fundamental principles is observed, then applicable actions are being taken by the disciplinary committee also. So if your offense falls into the first schedule, then it will be of lesser gratitude or lesser gravity, and it will attract a less amount of penal consequences. Primarily, it will be handled by board of discipline, and then the penalties or the consequences have been defined in this CA. If your offense falls in the second category, that is second schedule, it means that the offense involves penalties or consequences which are of a greater gravity, or something serious has been committed, and or it is required to be looked into. And but why these knowledge of these quality review mechanisms are important? Because see, quality review board, FRRB, TAQRB, and our own ethical standard boards, the ultimate result is that if you are found guilty of code of ethics, if you are found guilty of any professional negligence, your case will be referred to disciplinary committee. That's the crux of the story. So here comes the intellectual ethics into play. As I said in the beginning, that each and every mistake or non-compliance of mine, each and every error of mine, whether it is on account of omission, whether it is deliberate or not, it is to be discussed, it is to be decided by the authority or regulator, but it has to pass the filter of intellectual ethics. And if I can level up my intellectual ethics to a level where I don't make any mistake in terms of technical standards, in terms of knowledge, in terms of standards on auditing, in terms of standards on accounting, or the code of ethics, I will not be even bother to discuss or even face any such unpleasant consequences, despite knowing the fact that a member has not committed such mistake without motive or intent, but the committees or the BODs hands are tied up in some cases where they cannot do anything because the lapse is so evident. They cannot help the member also, even if they want to. And then comes the NAFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority. So NAFRA is responsible for upholding the quality of the services that has been provided by an auditor, as well as as well as the kind of reporting structure or reporting has been done by a company in its financial statement, whether there is lapse of any accounting standards or auditing standards in terms of member. So NAFRA after inception has taken the role to some extent of QRB. So coming on the topic of today, overview of code of ethics So why code of ethics is required? Historically, as I said, that it is made of two words, code and ethics. Ethics are moral values. Ethics can be, or ethics are there if I in my personal relationship, in my business relationship, in my professional relationship. But when you couple it with a code is if you go by a literal meaning, the code is understood to be an a written law, a written process, or written rules, or set of regulations. So code of ethics is mixture of these two things. So I term the code of ethics as moral ethics, and I take a new nomenclature for my professional competency or for my fundamental principle as intellectual ethics. So as our institute's motto says that ye supteshu jagrati, which means that awakening when the world is asleep. This is what is expected from an auditor. This is what our institute is expecting from us. This is what the whole nation is expecting from us. This is what the regulators are expecting from us. And to uphold this level of integrity, this level of objectivity, this level of knowledge or ethical values, we need to, upskill or level up our skills to a certain extent that these things become immaterial for us, because we'll be having proper knowledge of each and everything that we are doing in day out, the kind of functions that we are executing, be it in practice or be it in uh, service. So, keeping in mind the institute's motto that we should be awake always when the world is asleep. So, this whole session or the theme of session is designed on that only. I will take you very quickly to through these fundamental principles or the threats, because I presume and I have seen that it has already been discussed in previous sessions also, and we are very I presume that we are well versed with these fundamental principles or the threats which are there. We'll try to discuss the amendments and some of the clauses on which the maximum number of cases in disciplinary committee has been seen. So these are the five principal trends. First is integrity, objectivity, and excellence, as Sir has said in the beginning. These are the core three, foundation stones or pillars of our profession. Then comes the professional competence and due care, which we are nomenclating as intellectual ethics today, and we'll be deliberating in the second part how we can upskill ourselves and the professional behavior. So, see, integrity, objectivity, and confidentiality, along with excellence, is something which is part of my moral value, which is part of my, moral ethics, or which is part which can be said to be a personality trait of an individual per se, because professional behavior is also covered in the same thing. If I am of a personal trait that if I am of a person who is who is upholding ethics in my personal relationships also, certainly I'm going to replicate the same in my professional relationship, professional culture, professional assignments also. And integrity and confidentiality are something which are very important, which are of the utmost importance for any professional per se, because maintaining integrity of the profession, यही है जिसके ऊपर अपना प्रोफेशन खड़ा है. If it is taken away from any of the professional, I don't think that if integrity, objectivity, and confidentiality along with excellence is taken away from a member, including myself, if I'm in service or if I'm in practice, I am not eligible to continue as a chartered accountant. That is a very big statement, but it is as important as that. Confidentiality, often we see in the changing time that we often get many of us get communication these days from regulators, from external parties, to let them know about the confidential data or financial data, sorry, of our clients. So we'll discuss later on that in what all cases we can or we need to share the data of the client. One such example, for example, if I and I'm quoting vice chairman's example only, he has given in some seminar a year back. that if I, for example, if I receive if I am a practicing member in, practicing member auditing XYZ client, and I receive a call from a police station that a certain information or financial information is required to be, made available for the sake of inquiry or the sake of completion of the inquiry, because a criminal case or any other case has been lodged on a particular XYZ client for which I am a auditor of. So whether I can shield myself or I can say I can deny, uh, I can deny on the basis of the fundamental principle of confidentiality. If you see and if you stop the situation as it is, the answer is yes, I can say no. But again, the problem comes because the call is from police station or any, such regulators, say EOWED or etc., any other regulator such as SFIO. So what is ideally expected from us in this case, that we request them that kindly share what is your requirement, or a 2-liner or 3-liner mail or a letter to us, that in this matter under these sections the case has been registered and we need information of particular client of which I am a auditor. I am acting as an auditor. So in that case, I will not be held responsible for breaching the fundamental principle of confidentiality, as well as I will be complying with the applicable laws and regulations. I will not face the heat of the agency or the regulator also, by saying that I'm not providing or I'm not cooperating, or if I'm not helping them into the investigation process. So these are the 5 fundamental principles which every professional is required to maintain. Now, what are the threats to these fundamental principles? We have 5-6 type of threats. First is self-interest threat. This has been defined in our code of ethics. It is very well documented and written. But for the sake of your knowledge, because all these are the originating cause of any ethical issues or any disciplinary issue or any non-compliance related issue which we face in future. So self-interest threat is a threat in which, as a auditor, I might have or I might develop any interest, or whether financial in nature or otherwise, in an entity which may have the potential to affect my judgment or my behavior, my professional behavior per se. For example, if I'm having access to corporate assets of any entity or any auditee for my personal use, for example, if I am having audit fees pending for 2, 3, 4 years, there may be a case. It may be a case of self-interest also threat also, and it may be a case of self-intimidation threat also. Intimidation threat is, we'll discuss in the next slide. So it can cause, this situation can cause non-payment of fees, can cause these 2 threats in front of us. It may be a case that it is it is ruled out that I'm accommodating the client in a way, by providing or by not charging or by not taking the fees upfront. So we all are aware about a routine practice that almost the fees, as it has been set in the traditional practice, also the fees is paid annually, and we have seen many cases where the fees is not paid for many years. So in that case, we might develop a self-interest threat, and we should, self-evaluate that it remains to an acceptable level. It remains to an acceptable level. If it passes the acceptable level for me, then in that case I need to take actions which indeed will safeguard, my ethics, my integrity, my excellence, or my competence, when I'm not falling into any sort of problem later on because of the same. The second is self-review threat, and this is very common for a practicing professional. Why this is very common? Because if give me a second. threat is very common, as often seen that we all provide services to entities, small and medium and MSME entities or private limited entities, and often we see that the balance sheets or the though we write it in audit report, etc., that it is being so in many cases, the financials are being prepared by the auditor itself, or I'm expressing or I'm doing certain accounting or taxation related calculations, which will eventually have an impact on the kind of audit evidence that I'm obtaining during the course of audit. So a self-review threat occurs when a professional accountant will not appropriately evaluate the result of a previous judgment made. Because during the due course of audit, if I am preparing the financial statement, if I am advising the client on any taxation related calculation, say the recent change which has come in the volume 1 related to taxation related services, it says that I cannot provide, if I am the statutory auditor of the company, I cannot make the deferred tax calculation. I shall not make the deferred tax calculation related judgment, because eventually it is going to have an impact on the final judgment or final activity as a statutory auditor that I am going to perform. So even if it is done by me or any other individual within my organization, if in my CFM I am doing the same function, if I am suggesting the client on the tax calculation, take an example, or somebody from my team or see some other CA or some other partner is doing so, it is creating a self-review threat for me that I am going to review what I had said, I had advised earlier to the client, and it is very very important also to understand that in case of a self-review threat, I need to frequently or constantly assess that it remains to an acceptable level. If it crosses the acceptable level, then in that case I need to use the safeguard measures which are there to maintain integrity, maintain the comply with the code of ethics. Advocacy threat is a threat when a professional accountant will promote the client organization or you know or act in such a position where my objectivity is compromised. So for example, if I have the option or if I have the power, if I'm acting in such a position that I can manipulate my client's financial statement in order to get him a favorable financing proposal done, then this will become an advocacy threat in front of the member in practice, and it is required to be evaluated that whether it is up to the acceptable level or it has crossed the acceptable level, whether any safeguards are required to be taken for this particular threat. Familiarity threat is very common. It comes with a long or long association with the client. For example, some client is associated with me in one or any other manner, over years. The client is associated with me in one or other manner. If I'm auditing the client for a long period, or within if I'm auditing the client for a long period, though within the regulatory permissible limits, but I'm auditing the client for a longer period, or if I'm having a close relationship or a friendly relationship, because सी सर हमारा प्रोफेशन ऐसा है कि हमारा प्रोफेशन ही ऐसा है कि वी often often become empathical to our clients. Why I always use this word empathical to our clients, because अगर at some point of time either you know either you must have experienced or you have seen it, that we often speak that यार इस client को tax का demand है, how do I charge such a substantial amount of fees, because बेचारा already tax payment कर रहा है or he is into such problem. I am not saying that we don't maintain a good family relationship with a client, but the empathy has to be seen, has to be evaluated in terms of professional behavior also. So if it is required then then you show empathy towards the client, and if it is not required, uh, then we should not be too much sympathetic or empathetic towards the client, because eventually bringing in emotions in professional work uh, might hamper my judgment in terms of a particular assignment, or in terms of a audit that I'm going to perform. Uh, Intimidation threat, the threat that a professional accountant will be deterred from acting objectively because of actual perceived pressure. Let me give you an example of an intimidation threat. The first example that I've given you, that over reliance of, over reliance uh, of a practicing member of firm on a n client, mean to say single client. For example, if I'm that is again covered under the amendment of fee relative size, which says, briefly I'm discussing because it is related to intimidation threat only, which says that 40% is the limit in case of if I'm auditing an entity in which public is not interested, and 20% is the limit if I'm auditing entity in which public is interested. So how it is calculated? So if my if a fees received from a single client for assurance service is more than 40%, if the entity is not an entity in which public is not interested at large, and it crosses the 40% threshold of my total fee received, then I am required to make a declaration. I am required to give an intimation to the ESB. The requisite form is available on the website itself. If it crosses the 20% threshold, but in case of an entity in which public is substantially interested, if it is in company nature of which is such that public at large is interested, or if it is a limited concern, or if it is a listed concern, in that case, again, I am required to make a disclosure, required to give an intimation to ESB. The requisite form is available on the website. But this creates an intimidation threat. This gives birth to an intimidation threat that the client might use his its muscle power to make me give a favorable opinion, or to change my opinion. Again, I'm saying it may be actual, it may be perceived. Actual is the case in which the client says that to X person that you do a certain thing in a certain way, and perceived means that I am under conceived or perceived pressure that yeah, this client is very important. Agar ye chala gaya, to it will hamper my practice. So that is an intimidation threat. Intimidation threat can come into play if my fees is long overdue. If my fees is not paid for a longer period, I might be under an intimidation threat. यार ये मेरी fees नहीं pay करेगा. So this have a chance. I'm not saying this will impact, but this have a chance of hampering my objectivity. That is my fundamental principle. As well as it might have an perceived or actual impact on the decision making process that I'm going to do as a professional accountant. So as we discussed the five threats, we discussed five principle, then we discussed the five threats. Now we are discussing the safeguards. The safeguards are usually general in nature: education, training, and experience. CPE, that is something which is correctly understood but not correctly practiced by all of us, including me also. That because CPE, containing professional education or CPE hours, is a very valid tool for all of us to upskill ourselves, to attain knowledge of new reporting things, new reporting frameworks which are there. Corporate governance, governing structure is something which is very important. Knowledge of professional standards such as code of ethics is very important. Regulatory monitoring or disciplinary mechanism there, which is carried out by the our own mother institute, as well as the external regulators and external review. You all might have heard about the concept of EQCR, that is external quality control reviewer or review, which is required in certain cases. One such case is that if as an auditor For consecutive 2 years, the fees from an auditing client exceeds the limit of 15%. Then it is creating not only intimidation or interest threat, it is, it is giving birth to a need of uh, assessment or evaluation of the level of, the level of threat that might occur because of this situation. This mind the fee relative size limit of 40% and 20% is different. There is exemption in case of fee relative size that if your total receipts is below or up to 20 lakh rupees, then in that case you are not required to can compute all these things. Earlier it was 5 lakh rupees, but this limit is different. It is in case of uh, it is in case of a client where my total fees from assurance service exceeds 15% of my total fees. So in this case, I need to make a declaration to the management or TCWG, that is those charged with the governance, that yes, this is the case, and my total fees is exceeding 15%. Your total fees is exceeding 15% of my total receipts. This is not applicable in case of the government allotted audits such as bank audits or any CAG audits, etc. But one part is intimation to the TCWG, that is those charged with the governance, or those who are at the helm of the company. And second is EQCR, that is a external quality control review, or external quality control reviewer also, you can say. This is important, before, the situation remains to be the same for consecutive 2 years, then before expressing, that is pre-issuance of opinion, if independent assessment is required to be made through an engagement quality control reviewer or partner, which will perform an independent function. So it which should not be connected to my firm, that is the auditor's firm in any manner, but it has to be a member of the institute. Give me a second, please. We were discussing about engagement quality control review, or external quality control review. You may term it. It is required if the situation continues for the 2 years. So on one side, it gives a birth to the opportunity for all of us, as we are members of the institute. We have the sufficient competent knowledge. We can act as an engagement or external quality control reviewer for the engagement partner or for the auditor, as well as it is safeguarding us from any probable consequences which might come in front of us in future because of any given situation. So these are the basic, though it is not, I will not say that these changes are very recent. The changes in volume 1 has been made applicable in 2019. Basically, the changes, since our institute is a member of IPEC, and by virtue of that, IPEC has amended the international ethical standards in 2018, and based on the same, a revised code of ethics volume 1 was made applicable. So previously there was no provision related to NOCLAR. Previously there was no provision related to prohibition on taxation service related to audited clients. There was no provision related to management responsibilities also. And this 15% provision that we discuss, in which I need to make a declaration to those charged with the governance, if the situation remains to be the same for 2 years. It was recommendatory earlier with the capping of 40%, which has been changed to 15%. And there was no such provision related to unilateral breach of independent standards. Friends, independent standards have been renamed to international independent standards. It is a separate topic. I'm not going to comment, either I'm the authority to comment on the same. It will require a separate session on these independent standards, but these are the top 5 structural changes which you might have seen in any of previous, sessions or webinars or seminars if you have attended related to code of ethics. Because as I said in the beginning, I will not say these are the recent changes, but why we are discussing the same thing again and again, because these are unpracticed of, or these are not members are not so sensitive, or I would say empathetic about these changes. Some of these changes related to NOCLAR, that is section 260 for those who are in service, professional accountants who are in service, and section 360 for the professional accountants who are in practice. NOCLAR has been made applicable. Then this restriction on taxation services to auditee clients or related to taxation services that we are providing to our clients, as said by Anusar also in his remarks, that there is a very thin line of difference between tax planning and tax evasion, and in any case, it is our professional, ethical, or integral duty that we should not be part of any such exercise which leads to any breach of moral value, ethical value, or which leads or which indeed results in tax evasion. So, and third was fee relative size that we have already discussed. Fee relative size means that if the total 40% of the total fee received from total fee received by me by an auditor, if 40% is attributable to more than 40%, 40% is attributable to a particular auditee or particular client, then in that case I need to make a declaration to ethical standard board. Again, I'm repeating because it is a new requirement. It has come in. It has been made applicable from 2020 October 22 only. But still, if you don't, brush yourself about these revised changes, you will someday you will make a mistake and you will not comply with these provisions. And if in case of public is not interested at large, the fee proportion which is required to be computed if my fee crosses the 20 like mark is 20%. So if 40 and 20, these two numbers you need to remember. If you're a single client comprising of your audit fee structure for more than 40% in case of a private limited or a entity in which public is not interested at large, in that case you need to make a declaration to ethical standard board, and you constantly you need to review that this threat or this dependency remains to be at an acceptable level. It doesn't process the acceptable level in any case, because it should not hamper my integrity and objectivity. Then these are some structural changes which have been made. As I told earlier, the major change was related to independence. Independence is something which is widely spoken about over the years. Often we say कि यार audit, if the auditee, and that is my view, my personal view, it is not the view, or it might not be the view of ESB or other professionals, but I believe that independence is something which is very important. But in the modern era or in the past era also, if in any case, either there are two possibilities: either we morally, ethically, or technically we upskill or we level up to a certain extent that these things becomes immaterial for us, all of us. For example, if I am handling any audit assignment, and for sake of independence per se, I'm saying I'm leaving that assignment. I should not say, but there may be a case where people are lined up to take up that assignment, or on the other case, which is less likely to happen, which we often say that यार auditor का appointment अगर auditee के हाथ में है, so how you can expect an auditor to be independent? Largely, I don't agree with this statement, because this has been happening since ages, since this system of auditee has been introduced. Audit has been introduced, statutory audit, tax audit, or other type of audits. And I believe that maintaining independence is solely a personal trait. So maintaining independence, maintaining integrity is solely a personal trait of an individual, if of a professional. If I maintain, if I want to maintain independence, there is no stopping to me. But again, I said that the solution that I said in the first part of independence discussion, that we should level up, all of us should level up to a certain level where which these things becomes immaterial for us. For example, if my professional brother or sister is leaving any assignment for the sake of independence, we will see many clauses which affect which affects our moral ethics also later on the second part of this presentation. But we should be we should be knowledgeable, we should be enlightened enough to say no to such assignments wherein any sort of independence is being compromised. So, as we discussed earlier, there are two schedules in which our CX has been defined, misconduct has been given. One schedule has 4 parts, other schedule has 3 parts. So, basically, long story cut short, if you talk about professional misconduct or any type of misconduct, be it a residuary or miscellaneous issue also. So, first part contains the offenses or the type of offenses or the type of errors which are having less gravity, which are of less gratitude, or which are having less severe consequences. Um Also, it includes misconducts related to the members in service, about which we will discuss in detail. And the second schedule is where professional misconduct for practice, but it is of a grave nature, or clauses which in general will constitute to a misconduct, but which are not defined specifically. Another is very misconduct. So, I am taking only 3 or 4 clauses, 6, 8, 9, and 11. If I'm not wrong, because why? Even this advertisement, solicitation, communication with the previous auditor, as the previous session, which was taken by a very prominent faculty, was on this issue only: acceptance of audit, and communication with the previous auditor. And there are some changes on this also in the revised council guidelines as well as the code of conduct. But again, these things are very widely spoken about, but very less followed. And maximum number of cases in disciplinary committees or with the board of discipline or with the director discipline, you will see these type of cases only pertaining to these type of issues. So advertisement solicitation, I would not take much of time. So in general, long story cut short, as an auditor or as a member in practice, I'm prohibited to solicit work through any sort of advertisement per se. But some things are permitted. For example, if I'm circulating, or if I'm if I'm circulating a news in the newspaper that my firm has changed address, it is permitted, but it should not discuss the professional competence or achievements. But if I'm circulating a letter to a probable group of clients, then it is prohibited. If I'm doing underbox marketing or soliciting clients through such advertisement, it is prohibited. If I'm applying for empanelment, these were the questions which were previously it was काफी पूछे जाते थे कि भाई empanelment के लिए apply कर सकते हैं, whether we can put in our application for tenders, etc. It is permitted, but roving inquiries are not permitted. Roving inquiries means that, for example, you applied for bank audit, so it cannot be a case that you are calling to the concerned person or concerned department, or you are making such inquiries, or you are exercising any such influence or any such access which is not available to any other member in general, and to know that whether your name is in the approved list or not, etc. In that case, it is not allowed. You can apply, or you can fill in the forms for empanelments, various empanelments which are available on the PDC or the Tender Monitoring Committee's website. But again, roving inquiries are not allowed. how the panel will be constituted, who is going to make the decision, whether my name is there in the panel or not. These type of inquiries are not welcomed or neither they are allowed. Tenders, as we discussed, they are allowed, but in applying or in going for the tenders, we should be uh, we should be we should be aware of a situation where we feel that some moral ethics or some moral values are required. I've seen many cases where people applying for tenders and putting in a piece which is nothing. For example, I will not name it, the company or the member, but in a case, we were a company, a listed entity for which a tender was floated to for a GST retainership kind of a thing, and somewhere approximately 73 or 74 odd returns were required to file for all of the branches, etc. And you will believe the fact that the tender went for 34,400, 34,500. I've seen people doing internal audit of a company having turnover 250, 300 crores for 50,000 a year, for 17,000 a quarter. I don't see any possibility of anybody, executing any assignment with true competence and knowledge within such meager amount of fees. Publication of books and articles is very well permitted. Association with any CFM should not be shown in such articles or books. Issuing greeting cards is also permitted, but it cannot be sent to any external person. Say it can be sent to the clients, but it cannot be sent to the relatives or the friends, etc. Classified newspaper advertisement is permitted, but only in the journal or newsletter of the institute. Elsewhere, it is not permitted. With with proper wordings, it should not be too flashy or too extraordinary. Giving public interviews is permitted, but name of the firm should not come in. For example, we have seen today is a budget day, and I we all, as member of this esteemed institute, is maintaining certain thousands, number of thousands. We have joined this webinar to discuss the ethical standards on a budget day, which is kind of a historical event or a very prominent event for all of us, as whether we are in member in practice or service. Where you still we have joined this session. So coming on back on the topic, we have seen many people, many persons saying that I'll be live on this, particular show, this particular news channel at this particular time. Many are giving bites to the news channels. It is permitted, but it should not cover the name of my firm or my professional solicitation. Photographs is permitted, but provided in a case I am not paying it for getting my photograph published in any such article, paper, newspaper, journal, etc. And it should not contain the name of my firm also. So then again, advertises professional attainment of services, which is referred in clause 7 of part 1 of schedule first. This clause specifically prohibits, again, it is related to advertising only. Why we are covering? Because if we see a many number of cases coming out of these particular schedules. So this prohibits, the clause prohibits professionals from, attaining or services of a member by advertising. However, the members may advertise through a write-up, which we have discussed is allowed, subject to the guidelines in a manner to maintain the professional reputation, dignity, and ability to serve the public interest. So, long story cut short, a write-up is allowed, but it should be honest and lawful, truthful. It should not be exaggerated just to attract attention, just to grab some clients or professional work. It should not be of such a nature that brings the disrepute to the profession in any manner. So, barring this, if I'm writing an informative and honest or a knowledgeable write-up, it is allowed, and through which if somebody is approaching me, then it is fine. So these were some FAQs taken out of the previous experience, as well as the FAQs published by the ethical standard boards. Whether a CA can print a photograph on visiting card, the answer is clear no. Institute doesn't allow you to do so. Whether a client may use the name of CA firm in thanking you message. Uh, as you all know that the use of firm's logo or use of CA logo is not permitted elsewise. So it is also clarified that within the provision of clause 6 and clause 7, this is not allowed, meaning by which a client cannot use my name or my firm's logo in thanking a message to any external party. So this was also this decision what was made a few times back, which says that whether a WhatsApp message can be used to mention what type of services that I'm providing. This often happens with the new practitioner because I always say wherever I go, and this is what I learned from Anush sir also, that to be in practice and to have the courage to serve the profession, you need to be a lion-hearted person. So if you are starting practice, again, you need to be a lion-hearted person. If you're new to practice, it doesn't make you exempt that यार मैंने तो अभी practice शुरू किया and you start sending WhatsApp messages or calls, even calls to your friends, families, relatives, external persons that I'm providing such and such service. It is prohibited. If anybody makes any sort of complaint or if it is found, then you will be uh, found, you will be held responsible for professional misconduct. Can a member in practice print a QR code on his visiting card, facilitating the easy access to information? The answer is yes, because printing a QR on a visiting card is not disallowed, or it is, in other words, it is permissible, but it should not contain any other information which is not required to be allowed to be printed on a visiting card. For example, a photograph, etc. If it simply covers my address, my contact details, etc., then it is allowed within the meaning of the clause 6 and clause 7. So this is clause 8, communication with the previous auditor, and maximum number of the cases which we see in disciplinary committee also comes out of these clause 8 and clause 9. So long story cut short, in communication, the word which is used in the code of ethics is communication. Often we mix it with NOC, that is no objection certificate. But yes, a communication with the previous auditor is required to be made in all cases, whether the auditor has resigned, whether he is being removed, or by rotation you are being appointed, auditor of a particular entity. There may be a case, for example, an entity is liable to get its books of accounts audited under the tax audit provisions or income tax act provisions for a year, and other in the secondary they are not liable to get their books of accounts audited. In third year they become again liable to get their books of accounts audited. So the auditor, if it is different from the third year, first year auditor, it has to communicate with the previous auditor. The word is used previous auditor. So it doesn't talks about the previous year, it talks about the previous auditor. So the communication with the previous auditor, the intent of this is not to over-regulate, but the intent is just if you will communicate with your professional fellow brothers and sisters or the previous auditors, you will get an insight about the entity's functioning and how ethical an entity is, and it will help you in your professional judgment or conduct of your assignment also. So basically, three modes are allowed through which communication can be made. That is RPAD, registered post through acknowledgement due, by hand delivery if it is being received by the previous auditor, or by mail, but it should be acknowledged by the previous auditor, as well as the email address should be of the same which is there in the institute's record. So there may be a case that the communication is not made in the right way. It will. I will continue presuming that I have made a communication to the previous auditor. I have given the sufficient time of 7, 8, 10 days to revert back whether there is any pending fees, dues, etc. If it is not reflecting in the books of accounts, if the cash system is being followed. So in that case also, I will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Reason which because I have not made the communication through in proper channel or proper communication mode, which is allowed. So basically, often we do to save times, we do an email communication, but market that an email communication is required to be, acknowledged by the recipient, as well as the email address should be same as it is appearing in the records of ICAI. So then again, clause 9, before accepting any appointment, it is the prime most responsibility of an auditor to ascertain that the requirements of section 139, 140 of the Companies Act 2013 is complied with. It is obligatory. It is obligatory on the incoming auditor to ascertain whether from the company that the appropriate procedure has been followed in the matter of his appointment. In mind my words that a certificate or a declaration from the company that due process has been followed will not suffice, will not fulfill your purpose, can land you up in some trouble. So it is obligatory on our part as an incoming auditor to verify whether the outgoing auditor has been, if he or she or the firm is removed, has been removed properly. If he is retiring auditor, all due fees or undisputed fees have been paid, or during the course of appointment process, no shareholder or the retiring auditor itself or himself or herself have objected to the appointment or the validity of appointment of such incoming auditor, and the copy of relevant minutes and general meetings where the resolution is passed duly verified by the chairman of the meeting. So, and then the next clause on which we see often a lot of cases related to disciplinary committee, in disciplinary committee, that is related to clause 11, which is engaging in any other profession or occupation. One such recent change was related to a karta of an HUF. It was clarified that a member in practice can be a karta of HUF because by default, when the family starts, I become a karta of that HUF, but I cannot run or I cannot actively engage in any business activity which are otherwise not permitted as a chartered accountant, or which are not otherwise, which are required to be performed as a chartered accountant, or otherwise I cannot perform any business activity if there is any income related to inheritance or any traditional set of any traditional set of ancestral income is coming person capacity, it is allowed, otherwise it is not allowed. So one other question which is often asked from often asked from us when we take such seminars, that whether I can be a director, in a company, I can be a director solicitor, on other work I can be an individual director, independent director, but I cannot be a director who is in who is in a capacity of a full-time director or executing day-to-day operations or receiving any other remuneration other than the sitting fees which is required to be paid for the attendance of meeting. So these are the basic provisions, or I think the most widely spoken about topic related to clause 11. So let me take you through, because we are running short of time. We are already standing on 5:40. So I'll take 10, 12 or 15 minutes more, then we'll leave it open for the question and answers. So quickly, I will take you to the recent decisions of Ethical Standards Board. As per a recent decision, statutory auditor of an entity is not permitted to engage in assignment of a compilation engagement as per SRS 4410. I will like to, take your attention, or draw your attention to the third point, which is the most recent decision of the Ethical Standard Board, which says that it is not permissible for the member in practice being a statutory auditor of a company. It is applicable though on a listed entities, that to top 1,000 listed entities, but it is yet again very relevant because these are new provisions, these are new reporting frameworks. As Anuj said, these are new sustainable reporting framework. The whole world, the whole industry, the whole domain is moving towards sustainability, and BRSR is one such step taken by the regulator SEBI, which was made applicable few years back on the top 1,000 listed entity. From this year onwards, in a phased manner, a limited reasonable assurance is made applicable on BRSR code, which is applicable on specific set of companies. But the issue is that if you are a statutory auditor of a company, you cannot prepare a BRSR report. If you are a statutory auditor of a company, you cannot prepare a BRSR report. However, if you are following the sustainability standards, the International Sustainability Assurance Engagement Standard 303300, if you are following the same, if you are following due competence, professional competence, then you can provide a reasonable assurance, or you can be assurance provided to that entity on BRSR code, but you cannot in any case be a preparer of BRSR report. This is something which is very important. Our members are allowed to, take license registration from SEBI. However, we are not allowed carry out broking activities, underwriting, or portfolio management activities. We cannot provide, if you are a statutory auditor, to our auditing clients, say investment counseling services, which we often do, but that is not permissible. It is permissible for the member to accept the mystery audit assignment. It is permissible for a member in practice to be to mention position or to attain a position of promoter director in portal of a company. However, the member cannot mention his professional attainments or the name of the firm in which he is associated. So I can mention on the website or the portal of a company that I am the director, or if I am the promoter of this company, I am not actively taking part, I am a non-executive director per se, but I cannot mention my professional attainment, or if I am in practice, I cannot mention that I am practicing in such and such name. It is permissible for the member in practice to become a professional director in the board of management of any cooperative bank. So these were the 7 most recent decisions. Now coming back to NOCLAR, in next 3-4 minutes we'll try to cover NOCLAR, and then we'll take some non-compliances related to regulations. NOCLAR means that non-compliance with applicable laws and regulation. It is a framework which is prescribed by International Ethics Standard Board for Accountant, IESBA, which is guiding auditors on handling suspected identified non-compliances to uphold the ethical obligations. It is required because the time has changed, the professional requirements, the professional expectations have changed from the auditee or from the company's perspective, from the regulator's perspective, and these provisions only helps you or assist you in upholding your professional ethics or your moral ethics, or or to be safeguarded from any such non-compliance. It is at present applicable on listed entities, if you are in member in service, or applicable to audit assignments in case of professional accountants in service, applicable to employees of listed entities. So it is basically, it revolves around, or if you are a listed entity or auditor of a listed entity, this is applicable on you. 260 section talks about the members in service. 360 talks about members in practice. There are some examples which are there, like fraud, corruption, money laundering, or data protection related issues, tax liabilities or payments, or environmental protection, public health and safety, etc. So basically, the crux of the story is that if, as a auditor of a company, or as a as a person who is in charge of the affairs of the company, who is in a position to affect the operations of the company, the decision making, and if it comes into my knowledge that any such non-compliance is there, then it is my self implied duty that I evaluate, I assess, and then I report the same. It should not be go unreported if it is above the acceptable level, and it has come into my knowledge also. So it is about non-compliance with laws and regulation comprising of the acts and omissions of intentional, whether intentional or unintentional. So as I said in the beginning, here comes the importance of intellectual ethics, friends, because if I can level up the intellectual ethics to a certain extent, that I have the core competence. I have the technical knowledge of whatever standards I am, whatever standards applicable on the audit, or if I'm into, if I'm into job or into service, what are all laws applicable on the entity itself. So it will be very easy for me to see through or sail through these provisions. Otherwise, I will fall in the trap of these provisions or non-compliances. That's why ethical, conduct is very important, and having knowledge of intellectual ethics or upskilling ourselves in the technical sector is very important. So these are some FAQs, but I will skip these FAQs for uh, this particular session because we are running short of time. If you can find these FAQs, because Ethical Standard Board is working tirelessly, to bring out publications which are useful for the members in practice as well as members in service. And these all publications or FAQs or the compilation of recent decisions are available on the website of the institute. That is, you can go on the ICA.org and you can, navigate to Ethical Standard Board's website. Now, let me take you very quickly in next 5 minutes. Then we'll take questions if there are any related to the present topic. As I often say, Naveen ji, I will take 5 minutes more because this is important, and then
Yeah, you can continue. Sure.
Thank you. So, as we often say, under the guidance of Anuj sir, we got the chance to do a lot of work in the research committee, also in other committees also. And we often say as reviewers that, or as advisors also, compliances are often very costly, but mistakes are fatal. So, why I am saying so? Why it is relevant for me? These are, some of the findings which are given by NAFRA. And I mean, if you apprise me of this fact that these regulations or these findings came in 2023, and prior to that, one such example I would like to highlight out of these things, that is a provision matrix. If you recall that the provision matrix is required to be made by a company required to disclose as per Ind AS 109, which is disclosing the probable default rates in a certain manner, and it is required to be made in all financial assets, whether it is a bank balance or FDR, etc. It can be zero, but it is required to be made. And none of the companies or maximum of the companies are not disclosing provision metrics, but companies have started, disclosing the same post this NAFRA observation. It was in the case of PSP projects, and this has very wide implication on both members in service, because we are at the helm of the company as a CFO, accounting head, or if I'm auditing any listed entity, it will affect my professional quality also, because if there is a non-compliance of Ind AS and I'm signing that or I'm giving an unqualified opinion, I'm putting myself into risk. Then again, these findings to Ind AS 115, that is revenue from contract with customers, and related to Ind AS 109, 116 also. So with these were the findings of NAFRA. I will quickly, running short of time. Let me take you through some findings, and then our own properly. So whatever these cases that is coming on your screen are related to lack of the intellectual ethics that we discussed in the beginning. Code of ethics, moral ethics, we all are reading day by day. But I presume that having knowledge of technical competence is equally important. Uh, where you see almost all of the decisions, regulators AB, it said that there is a contravention of provisions of Indian standard as well as SEBI LOD regulations. So post application of this no clerk, it says there should not be any non-compliance related to any other laws, any common laws. This you will fall under the no clerk. SEBI has clearly said in these 2-3 orders, Naveen ji, that if the job of a member in service, if I'm acting in the capacity of a CFO or KMP or account side, is not limited to preparation of financial statement. My liability is to ensure that the quality of financial statement remains to be excellent. So there is a clause, there is a regulation 4, which has sub-regulation 2 and clause F, which says that a financial reporting reviewer is to be appointed. It is equivalent to the engagement or external quality control reviewer that we are seeing in case of our auditor fraternity. It is required from those who are in the service also. It is required from their perspective also. So by these words, I put rest to today's session. I know that the time was less and there are a lot of things which has been left out, but this presentation is available. I again thank you all for attending this session. And over to you, Naveen ji, for question and answer. Then we formally conclude this.
Yes, sure. So we have received few questions. Slide webinar. The first question asked is, what are the tax services which an auditor can provide to its as per code of ethics, like an auditor?
So whatever tax services, like what is not allowed, let me take you through that, because the list of permissible or not permissible will be a lengthy discussion, will be a separate discussion. For in long story cut short, if you see that if I am a statutory auditor of a company, I cannot provide any such service which involves determination or planning of taxation, because ultimately it is going to have an impact on my professional judgment. So like we do in case of SEBI LODR, अभी changes आए थे जिसमें था कि 24 hours, 12 hours और 30 minutes का disclosure requirement था. So we can dissect in this way that you evaluate a particular situation, you go by the document or material which is available on the ESB's website, but you go by a situation if any particular tax planning advisory service is affecting or is creating or is generating a self-review threat or advocacy threat, or it is going or it is surpassing the acceptability level. In that case, it is not allowed. For example, calculation of deferred tax in case of a company in which I am a statutory auditor. For example, if I am representing the client for a tax dispute, in my opinion, it is permissible, but if it does not give birth to any self-review or self-interest or other type of threats.
Means auditor can give litigation services, representation services also.
Yeah. Yes.
And normally we receive some assignment like tax audit and companies audit together. So I think that is perfectly valid. A tax auditor can be a statutory.
In my opinion, it is allowed. All of that is
So your connection is interrupted. We are not getting it properly.
Yes, I guess there's some network issue.
I think we are able to.
So as you raised one question, whether a statutory auditor can perform the tax audit, yes, both the audit can be performed by the statutory auditor, as both are the statute functions. So there's no issue in providing tax audit service with the statutory auditor.
I think Kuldeep ji have joined us back. Are you getting our voice?
Kuldeep, can you hear us?
Maybe some temporary network issues there. Another question, I think that is very easy. Can I advertise my services in national newspaper? I think it is a straight no. Everyone no clause.
Yes.
It is a straight no. And there another question. There are firm rotation requirements in Companies Act. So partner rotation requirements are applicable over and above the firm rotation, or it is part of this.
Pardon, can you come again?
The question which we received is there are firm rotation requirements in Companies Act. Are partner rotation requirements applicable over and above the firm rotation? Means auditor जो auditor partner है
5
वो
years
क्या
and 7 years
करना
का.
पड़ेगा? क्या-
Yeah, sure. So in replying to this question, Naveen ji, I got your question that in case of a firm, if it is a partnership firm, there's I think the time limit is 7 years if I'm not wrong. In case of engagement partner, it is 5 years. Correct?
Sir,
Yeah, I think
yes,
Correct. Na? So the answer to your question is yes, that it will apply.
your screen was stuck at last time. Can you repeat the last line, sir? We were not able to hear you.
I am saying that yes, it will apply.
Okay. So that was all. That was the only question which we received. So I think I over to Chairman sir for the formal vote of thanks. Branch side.
Thank you, Naveen. First of all, a huge round of applause for our wonderful speaker कुलदीप कोठारी जी, जिन्होंने इतने crucial समय भी हमारे लिए समय निकाला.
Thank you.
Well done, Kuldeep ji. Well done.
Thank you.
After that, I would like to thank our ESP Ethical Standard Board's Chairman sir, C. Anuj Goyal ji, our Vice Chairman sir, ESB Secretariat, our Speaker of the day, my teammates and the participants जो बीच में रहे जिनको मैं देख पाया, तो सीए दर्शा शर्मा, सीए शैली अग्रवाल जी, सीए मेघा कंसल, और देर आर सो मेनी अदर नेम्स जो मैं नहीं याद कर रख पाया, बट मैं मिस कर गया. बट सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जिन्होंने आकर के अपना वैल्यूएबल टाइम निकाला और इस सेमिनार में वेबिनार में उन्होंने पार्टिसिपेट किया, हमारे स्पीकर्स का मोटिवेशन बढ़ाया, उनको मोटिवेट किया कि वो अच्छे से और प्रिपेयर करें नेक्स्ट सेशंस के लिए. और हम उम्मीद करते हैं कुलदीप जी कि हम आपको अगली बार फिर सुनेंगे कुछ नए पॉइंट्स के साथ, कुछ नए इंपॉर्टेंट चीजों को लेकर के. थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ अस. थैंक यू.
Sir, one
जी.
Ashish sir, one more point that I want to highlight at this point of time, because this
Yes,
is
sir,
the
please.
time where we are providing maximum the cases. July, August, September वो time होता है जब audit ये tax audit या taxation related services देते हैं. So the close communication with the previous auditor becomes very important, because in case of a tax auditor, it is always seen as a problem कि हमें उसकी either we are not aware as a outgoing auditor who has done the previous audit, who has done the previous audit, or who is going to do the coming audit. So communication with the auditor in case of tax audit is also required, and make sure that it is not, because tax audits generally it is being signed or done in the wee hours of the last 7, 8, 10 days. So ऐसा नहीं हो कि if I'm accepting or I'm communicating on 27th and I'm signing any tax audit report on 28th, because eventually it will lead to generation of fact that I didn't give sufficient time to evaluate the company's data, or I have not exercised due diligence which I was expected to do as a tax auditor. So ये छोटी सी चीज है जो स्ट्रक्चरल है, पर अपने को ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए. That's it from my side. Thank you, Ashish sir, you and your team, and the chairman sir for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Ravi sir, for wonderfully
so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
coordinating.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.